All right, so I hope you can see them now. So we have about a dozen of those planned already, but we're showing you the next ones here. So feel free to sign up for some or all of these webinars at climatehub.ca at any point. You'll be able to watch them live, just like this one, and you'll be able to watch them afterwards with the recording. All right, so these webinars are really meant to exchange best practices and the tools that you can leverage in your own cities to accelerate the transition to a low carbon economy. And today's webinar does exactly that. I think the title is very accurate, actually. We're starting really, really strong with an amazing lineup of experts who will present inspiring success stories of multi-stakeholder collaboration for climate action, and they'll present a set of tools that you can start using right now in your own communities. So to kick off this webinar, we've invited Catherine Abreu, the Executive Director of Climate Action Network Canada, to present the global context in which local action is so crucial to solving the climate crisis. So welcome, Catherine.
Thanks so much, Audrey. All right, so 54% of the world's population lives in urban areas, and that number will approach 70% by 2050. It's huge. And urban areas represent about 70% of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions. For these reasons, urban areas are at the center of a convergence of global frameworks like the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the recently launched New Urban Agenda. But putting those numbers and the global action agenda aside for a moment, let's just think about the fact that cities are really where the future happens first. It's in our communities and in our cities that we have conversations about the realities and the impacts of things like climate change, where we organize our response, and where we experiment with the solutions that are essential to addressing the problem. Also, municipal orders of government tend to be the most fruitful place for meaningful civic engagement. So it's at that community level where action is really essential to the success of things like the Paris Agreement. Not just because that's where we're seeing 70% of global energy emissions, but because that's really where we're going to operationalize this large-scale transition that we need, and where we're going to find the creative solutions that we can scale up and replicate again and again across the world. So with that, let me just express my extreme enthusiasm for the Community Climate Hub initiative. I'm so excited that Climate Reality Project is launching this, and I can't wait to watch it unfold and participate wherever I can. Congrats.
Thanks so much, Catherine. We're really excited to share it with you as well, and I'm sure many of the Climate Action Network members will participate, as I believe some of them are already participating in the first steps of the initiative. So next we have Devin Cosley, who manages programs on climate change, energy, and asset management, for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. He also manages the Partners for Climate Protection program. And just to give you an idea of Devin's background, so he holds a Master of Applied Environmental Studies in Local Economic Development and a Bachelor in Environmental Studies in Planning. He's a registered professional planner with the Canadian Institute of Planners and a trained facilitator. And surprise, surprise, Devin is also a member of the Climate Reality Leadership Core, so one of ours, and he regularly publishes articles on climate change and sustainable planning. So over to you, Devin.
Hey, thank you very much, Audrey. Hope everybody can hear me well. Happy to be here and echo the level of enthusiasm for this initiative. I was part of the 2013 climate reality training in Chicago, where I was brought with me that municipal perspective and really thought there was an opportunity for the project to connect more with municipalities, and the kind of municipal movement and community groups like this can help build more of, to move local action on climate change at the community level. As Audrey mentioned, I've been with FCM for 14 years, so have seen a variety of initiatives across communities come forward, of municipalities large and small. So we'll go through a bit of a presentation on some of the tactics that community hubs could use in engaging their municipalities, and some of the resources municipalities themselves can access. So I'm with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. If you haven't heard of FCM, as many folks haven't, we represent municipal governments across Canada. We've been around since 1901, so a very long-standing history as an organization. We have about 2,000 members out of close to 4,000 municipalities across Canada. So most people think of the biggest cities when they think of municipalities, the Vancouvers, Montreals, Surreys, Halifaxes, but most municipalities are quite tiny. I think some of our smallest members are as few as a dozen people. So it really is quite a diverse country out there. FCM itself as an organization has quite a long history of working in the area of climate change. As an organization, our primary mandate has been on national policy and advocacy with the Government of Canada, but the organization also offers quite a variety of domestic and international capacity building programs to help municipalities and mobilize our members. As well, we engage extensively with domestic and international networks of local governments and other associations. Climate change, both mitigation and adaptation, are two of the main issues we work on in sort of all four of those areas. Also increasingly around asset management. If you haven't heard of this term before, it's really about dealing with all the things that a municipality may own, control, or influence around infrastructure, both physical and also natural systems. And in those programs, helping them with a variety of process support, direct technical assistance, lessons learned, funding, and networks. I'll talk about some of the specific programs later in the presentation. So a quick summary, I'll go through a bit of the context of climate change. Builds quite nicely off of what Catherine mentioned already. Some of the awareness and commitment initiatives, tactics for engagement, and some of the specific funding support programs that hubs could direct their municipalities to that can really help mobilize them if they're limited capacity. So the first question I've got for the audience, and this speaks to a bit of history, is from your perspective, when was the first target for reducing greenhouse gases set by a municipal government? I guess Matthew will pop up a poll here. Give everybody a few moments to input their thoughts. And I believe they'll sum up all of these at the end of the presentations. But the quick answer, oh, someone have to clear this. There we go. The quick answer for those that didn't answer is 1988. So the first municipality to pass a greenhouse gas reduction target was actually the city of Toronto, showing some real Canadian leadership on this issue. If you're interested in a bit more of the history of Canadian municipal work around climate change, a few years ago we actually developed a timeline of major milestones as part of the 20th anniversary of our Partnership Climate Protection Program. So it's a good way to see what's happened over the years. So a bit of the Canadian landscape around climate change that many of you have probably already heard of, that there's increasing profile on the issue and with the profile of municipal governments ever really since the change with the Liberal government coming at the federal level, the Paris Agreement at the global level, and now leading into the Pan-Canadian framework on green growth and climate change that's recently been affirmed and is now really working to be mobilized with the support of the provinces and territories. At the same time, there's also limited reference to municipalities in that framework. So there is the inherent recognition of the importance of municipalities enablers and implementers, but not necessarily referenced. At the same time, municipalities are quite advanced in this area with the lessons learned and tools from projects they've been implementing for quite a while. As it may suggest, there's a lot of increasing organizations vying for the interests of municipalities who are trying to stay focused in their efforts around climate change. They're delivering a variety of services, traditional, but also trying to be proactive and how they can deliver better services and invest in better infrastructure to reduce emissions or respond to climate impacts at the same time. So thinking about that a bit tactically as a hub, how can the idea of a community climate hub resonate or dovetail with other initiatives that are engaging municipalities or commitments they may have under provincial legislation? One of the main programs FCM has been running for 20 years or more now is our Partners for Climate Protection. This is a network of Canadian municipalities, now about 320 strong across the country, who have made a commitment to reduce emissions through a political process, and who are also working through a 5-step framework to demonstrate their commitment and achieve results. These will be ideal communities to connect to as a possible hub, as they already have some access to resources and tools, including, as one example, a web-based networking platform similar to that provided by Climate Reality for municipal practitioners to connect with each other, share best practices, and show their experience. This is a quick snapshot of where many of those municipalities are in the program. Some of them obviously take longer to get through the different steps, but they're essentially developing inventories of their emissions, setting targets, preparing plans, implementing projects and policies, and evaluating their outcomes as they achieve results. This is a quick visual of the communities across the country. On FCM's website, we have a map that shows all the communities. You can look up when they joined and where they are in the program. So tactically, what are some things to think about as a hub engaging a municipality? Well, one is to think about the rapid pace of movement that's been happening over the last 2 years. So municipalities have been proactive for quite some time. Even more are getting on board now as they see a variety of initiatives come forward, showing the increased profile of municipalities, and also bringing with them some resources to help them with implementation. You've heard of some of these. The Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy is one of the newer international movements looking to engage cities. It's similar to our Partners for Climate Protection program in terms of a commitment process, but also the recognition of municipalities through various other provincial commitments, international agreements like the Paris Agreement, or others like the Under 2 MOU. This also means there's a variety of organizations trying to engage cities in making commitments. You've probably heard of the 100% Renewable Cities Initiative, getting local governments to commit to 100% renewable energy. There's the Carbon Neutral Cities Alliance, started down in the States, now growing further abroad. And of course, there's citizens and members of the public. So as a municipality, they're trying to prioritize the things they could join or participate in relative to actually achieving outcomes and making progress on things. So if tactically, there's an opportunity to find out if your municipality is already part of one of these things, how can you help support them on it? How can you help accelerate them through a commitment they've already made? Also about building political champions. These will be key to actually ensuring that a municipality can provide can go further around climate change. They're often managing tight budgets. So they're looking for support from their public, from a climate hub in tough political decisions about putting some money towards an emissions reductions project or preparing a climate action plan. And work to build many of these around the council table. You never know, an election may cause the loss of a champion, so it helps to build a few of them around the table. Over the next year, there'll be municipal elections in at least 4 provinces, and municipal elections in most of the other ones the year after. So this is a good time to help showcase what they can do on climate, and also get new candidates on board. Ask them about what they might do on climate change, how they'll sustain commitments already in place. On FCM's website, we've been developing a number of case studies of local climate heroes in municipalities. These are a good resource to find out who are some of the champions in municipalities across Canada. Also understand the local context. What are ways to dovetail climate change into a municipal issue that's already a priority? What you see here is a great example from the City of London, who really expresses action on climate change through the cost of energy. So if you can put it into dollars and cents as an example, or job creation, clean air, issues that are already high on council's agenda. Also think about where to target support. There's some great initiatives already underway at the grassroots level. These are a few examples of those happening in Ontario, out in Fredericton, and in Toronto, of course. And if these already exists, how can a hub tie into them? If nothing exists, is that a more strategic area where a municipality could use support in the absence of a really strong community presence? So that's a few quick snapshots of tactics. So in terms of thinking about the context of the municipality, thinking about how to engage them, in understanding what other initiatives are engaging them, finding key successes, where is the municipality already engaged, building those champions at the political and even the staff level, connecting to a local priority issue, looking at possibly engaging the less committed. So I think of these as sort of maybe the secondary cities or suburban or rural communities, and building upon that base of public support. The second audience question I had is, if you're thinking about starting a community climate hub, in what region of the country would you be thinking to start a hub? And I think this could help inform all of our presenters today.
Just want to jump in there. I would ask those on the line to use the chat feature to enter their responses to the questions. So I don't think the poll is working properly because I'm not collecting the data on the other end here. So please use the chat to post your response to everybody, and that chat will be saved after the call.
Thanks, Matthew. So just to wrap up with a few points of what sort of programs are available to support the municipalities. Most of these are directly for the municipalities, but some of the programs can be accessed by community groups as a partner to the municipality. The PCP program I already mentioned. We have our Green Municipal Fund, which is another program that can support capital projects through low interest loans or feasibility studies. The Municipalities Climate Innovation Program is our newest program that I'll speak to more detail in the next slide, and then some of our international initiatives. So Municipalities for Climate Innovation Program is the newest program to get off the ground that's really seeking to help both provide capacity to municipalities on climate mitigation and adaptation, and to provide some direct funding to them to help with their plans, studies, and really help capacitate them to take further action on climate change. It offers a combination of direct funding. So these are grants to municipalities to help with plans, feasibility studies, operational studies that's really helps sort of implementation, demonstration projects, and support for municipalities to actually get staff resources, especially for those smaller or lower capacity municipalities. And there's also a few specialized peer learning and funding programs around asset management and low carbon development for those more advanced municipalities, and also some regional facilitators connected to our Partners for Climate Protection program that may also be of value to our potential hubs that can provide advice on what their municipalities are doing in the region and other resources available. So a quick shot of what's available in terms of the funding for those studies or demonstration projects. I'm just going to skip through these quickly, as we have folks at FCM that you can call afterwards that can go through all of this in detail. But they're about $175,000 for a plan or study with about 80% of costs. These are things related to mitigation or adaptation planning, studies to address an emissions reductions opportunity or a climate vulnerability. And also the staff support, where as a municipality could get funding for 2 years of up to $175,000 for somebody to help actually undertake some of this work at the local level. But the eligibility, most of these are directly for municipal governments, but if they can also demonstrate a partner that might be actually helping to do the work for them, they can also work in collaboration with a not-for-profit Indigenous community or other municipalities. So these programs are rolling out right now, and will continue to roll out throughout the next few months. There's a number there if you have a municipality that's interested or you just want to know more. So we have some advisors at FCM that can give you all the details, or feel free to shoot me a message and I can provide you more information as well on these or any of our other tools and resources. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Amazing, Devin. So there was a question while you were speaking from Walter Andreef. He's asking, I understand the need for champions, but any suggestions how to develop relationships with council members in municipalities that don't believe in climate change?
That's a very good question, actually. It's a bit of the nature of my point is thinking of or trying to explore with them what are the issues that resonate with them. If they're dealing with a cost-constrained environment, is it talking about them to them about how they could reduce energy costs, things like building retrofits, anti-idling, maybe putting it through a language of asset management or climate vulnerabilities. For a lot of our smaller municipalities and those on the East Coast, it's often more about climate impacts than mitigation. So if you can start the conversation there, go in that door and let it come back to the emissions reduction story later.
Great point. I don't see any other questions right now, but I would invite everyone to just enter their questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat section, whichever one you find first, and we'll get back to all of the questions towards the end of all of the panels. Thanks so much, Devin.
Thank you.
So next in line, we have Guy Grenier, who holds a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's in business administration. I've been told he has a long track record of citizen mobilization, group animation, and over the years, he's developed expertise in the design of training, facilitation, and consultation tools. He's currently collaborating with the Montreal Public Consultation Office, where he's a member of participatory processes. And among other things, he was in charge of the internationally acclaimed public consultation.
Oui, c'est vrai, oui, weekend aussi.
Sorry, I can hear you, Matthew. And sorry, so he was in charge of the internationally acclaimed public consultation on Montreal's reduction on the dependence on fossil fuels, which allowed him to experiment with many innovative approaches to public participation. So over to you, Guy.
Thank you, Audrey. I'll try to share my screen, but it didn't work before. If it does not, we'll just. Oh, I think maybe better this time. Okay, are you seeing this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm with Office de Consultation Publique, as Audrey said. It's an independent body of the City of Montreal that's part of the charter of the city. So it's very interesting in the sense that we are independent and we are neutral. And the reason for that is that because it's a provincial legislature that created us, and the city has to work with us and cannot interfere in the way we work. So we've been existing for 15 years now, and we have done something like 140 public consultation. Our purpose is to listen to citizens' opinion about major projects that would affect their lives. So usually they are projects of urbanistic nature, but it can be any type of project that the City of Montreal sends. It would be interesting to have to hear citizens, so they would send us a mandate to realize a public consultation. So basically, we over the last 15 years, we were able to build the trust of citizens, because we have a process that we've been using for all that time. It's a predictable process. People know how we achieve things. We have commissionaries that are named for every public consultation, and they're not politically involved. They're independent, and their purpose is to hear citizens and to take into account their opinions to improve the projects that are being put forward. So as I said, the type of projects we would be working on are, well, you see them now, real estate, institutional projects. In the City of Montreal, the natural borough of Mont-Royal is protected. So every time you need you want to achieve a project there, you would need to go through a public participation. It's the same thing for the historic borough of Old Montreal. And there's also something that is very interesting, that is the right of initiative. And that's something we'll discuss more about, because it touches on our topic today. So in 2015, our friend Matthew, who is online with us now, and Coalition Climat Montréal, went to the city council and requested the city to send us a mandate to consult the public about our dependency on fossil fuels. And that's what is the right of initiative. So a group of citizens can go to city council and get the authorization to gather 15,000 signatures, and after that request from the city to have a public consultation. This process has been used twice in the City of Montreal. The first time was about urban agriculture. It was something like, I think, in 2013. And the second time for fossil fuel, the dependency on fossil fuels. So in this case, 2015 was the year of COP21 in Paris. And the mayor of Montreal decided that there was no need to gather the 15,000 signatures, and that the topic was so important that we should go ahead and do the consultation. So that was very interesting for us at the OCPM, because we've been working the last few years on innovating on the ways that we consult people. The reason why we're so interested in innovations is that we need to not only have the usual suspects in a consultation who comes to the hearings. We need to find a way to reach more people, and different kind of people. And when you have a topic like our dependency on fossil fuel, which touches on the idea of climate change and the environment, basically you're talking about the lives of everyone. And we thought in this case that it was necessary to find ways to have a larger participation from Montrealers. And so we we did try a lot of few things. And for example, you see a list there. There were DIY kits that were created. They were like society games that you could download from the internet, or you could go to the office and we would give you a package with all the material to be able to go to a group where you're involved, or just with basically your family or friends, or any group of 4 person and more. You could gather and you could discuss using our kit, and we would ask the people, well, have the discussion and send us back the result, and they would have the forms to gather the results of their discussion, and that would be sent back to us through our online forum. And also there was an online platform that we've used. It was the first time we've done that. It was very interesting also. Again, it gave us the possibility to reach people that usually don't come to our public hearing. People that, and whatever the reasons they have, people who wishes to participate in a special way, and online platforms was very convenient for them. And the platform that we did choose gave us the possibility to have people not just have a basic input, but to have complex ideas being described and proposed, and there would be a dialogue about these solutions, because this consultation on fossil fuels, one of the requests was to find solutions, and people were working together to find these solutions. So again, that was pretty effective. And we had, if you combine the DIY kits and the online forum, I would say we'd have 1,200 people who had who provided us with opinions and potential solutions about our dependency on fossil fuel. Also, we thought it was a good topic to ask the innovation community of Montreal to find solutions. And it was a group of people that we never had contact with before, and so we wondered about how we would work with them, and how we could have our discussions, our dialogue with them. And after a few meetings, this group of people decided on, well, they said, let us organize ourselves. We know how we like to interact. We know how we like to build stuff and create prototypes and test them and scrap them and create new ones, new ideas. And basically, they had the idea. They decided on doing a series of events. I think it was something like 12 different events. Where there were a few hackathons, there were a few other types of events. But basically, the idea was to bring people through these events, and having them create and work around an idea, and bring it as far as possible as a prototype to have a final presentation in front of the city of Montreal. So that was a very interesting thing we did in this case also. The reason why all of this is very interesting, here's a screenshot of what our online platform looked like. The reason why I'm talking to you about all of this, I'm not a climate expert. I'm not. I'm a concerned citizen, of course, but my purpose in life is to have the chance to hear people hear what they think about a different topic, and I'm sorry, just need to kill my phone. And basically, we have lots of discussion about the fact that some people think that maybe it's just experts that would need to participate in a consultation like these, because somehow they would have a better contribution to offer. The reality is that everyone is an expert of their daily life, and that's what everything is about when you are trying to find solutions about what's going to happen to a city like Montreal. And the more complex the issue is, the more you need to have a possibility to reach the individual people to find out what they think about the situation, how they live with it. And the result we got with the consultation on fossil fuel was that what we discovered things that we weren't expecting exactly. Because when you look at a city from afar, you may think, well, a city, you need to manage the traffic. You need to have roads. You need to have huge buildings. And basically, the individuals, what they were saying is that, well, no, we need to have a city that's fit for us, that's fit for communities, that's fit for being alive and going around and feeling secure. So lots of solutions came up about the possibility to ride your bike in the city 12 months a year, to have buildings that are more thought, more efficient, more interesting to live in. And all of these solutions were proposed to the city of Montreal. And the thing with the UCPM is that the more and more people that participate, and with the level of credibility that we try to maintain, well, we get to send messages to the city in the name of the citizens. And I would say that elected officials, they take care of offering positions that fits with that. So, and a few weeks ago, we ended the consultation a year ago, but a few weeks ago, the City of Montreal published its answer to the result of the consultation. There were something like 25 recommendations that were sent to the city, and the city said it would apply all the 25 recommendations. So I think that's a success for the citizens. I think it's most probably a success for people who are interested in the climate security for the city, and for the involvement of citizens in the solution. And I just wanted to show you this picture. We had a huge debate. We gathered 100 people in June 2015, 100 people in Montreal. But it was at the same time as 80 other cities in the world, who each city had 100 people participating. And these kids who are 5 years and more were participants. You see the solution that they found on that day. They worked the whole day on it, and that was their solution, which is a school bus of the future. And that was their solution for the climate challenges. So I'm sorry, talking a lot. Just tell you, for us, the interest of all of this is to be able to have more and more participants, more and more citizens that are present and that are involved in the discussion. We need to have a diversity of opinion. Our purpose is not to just hear one side of it, but to have people confront their opinions. And well, maybe evolved starting from that. And sorry. And we needed to have a contribution from our citizens, and that's what we achieved. And the idea, every time we have a mandate, the idea is to improve the project or find better solutions. If you want to know more about OCPM, you have the website there. And right now we are organizing a conference that will be from June 16th to June 19th. It's the conference of the International Observatory of Participative Democracy. You have the website there, and I'm inviting everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Guy. And I have to reiterate what you said, that and perhaps even add to it. The consultation in Montreal was very, very exciting. And if any of our listeners right now are still skeptical about the use and the fun in participating in consultations, it's probably because they haven't participated in that one. So thanks for coordinating that. And I hope we'll see many of our viewers at the OIDP conference this summer. So next on, we have Dale Littlejohn, who's the Executive Director for the Community Energy Association of British Columbia, which is a non-for-profit society that was formed by energy providers, governments, institutions to essentially build capacity and accelerate climate action with local governments in BC. Dale assists local governments to build capacity and accelerate climate action by delivering education, developing guidance documents, to deliver consulting engagements in the areas of community energy planning and carbon neutral strategies, as well as green economic development and district energy. So over to you, Dale.
Thanks a lot, Audrey, and thanks for Climate Reality for putting this on. Very exciting to see people getting engaged even more with local governments. And thank you to all the participants who are hanging in there for a fairly lengthy webinar. Great to see that energy and commitment. My name is Dale Littlejohn, Executive Director of Community Energy Association. Our website is down at the bottom of the screen there, communityenergy.bc.ca. I really encourage you to check that out. Huge number of studies and guides for local governments and those who are working with local governments under our resources section. If you want to understand what this district heating stuff is, or biomass, or how to invest in utilities, or do community energy plans and stuff like that, we've got all kinds of stuff there. We've also got education in how to do management of energy at the community level. Communities have always managed energy, just not always consciously. Now a lot more of them are doing that. And we have 20 years of awards that we've developed and delivered to local governments across BC on climate action that are, we've got the information there. So great case studies. In terms of engaging with local governments in climate action, things like that, one of the really neat ways that we've seen folks engage is through delegations to council. So most councils will let you speak for 10 minutes if you get engaged with them in that and fill in the right forms and that kind of stuff. You can express your interest in climate action. Through that, you'll probably also identify some councillors who might be interested in it, or maybe some staff. And particularly when decisions are coming to council, and most councils publish their agendas in advance of their meetings. If you can look at their agendas, see when interesting things are coming up, and getting out there and speaking in favor of the cool things that they want to do is really, really helpful. There's both staff and elected officials that you can engage with. In most municipalities, things flow down rather more easily than they flow up. So councils are quite important. And like Devin was saying, know where you're starting. There's almost 200 local governments across Canada that have community energy and mission plans. About half the population of Canada is covered by those. But understand where you're starting. Does your community have a plan? Are they implementing it? Do they have an inventory? Do they know where they're starting from? Or are they just building awareness? Local governments are really, really interesting in a lot of ways. They own about 2/3 of the infrastructure in Canada. They influence over 50% of the energy and emissions, but they only collect about 6% of the tax revenue. So having them create change requires a little bit of subtlety sometimes. There's 3 big ways municipalities create change with climate and energy. It's about buildings, transportation, and waste. It's really about where you put assets, what you do with those assets. They can do it corporately with their own operations that they can control. And there's some really cool stuff around local governments being carbon neutral in their own operations, but also community-wide, the art and science of leveraging the municipal powers. And that's really about where you put assets, infrastructure, buildings, things like that, to help their residents and businesses save energy, emissions, and money. So how do local governments actually do this? Well, with buildings, they start with reducing demand, so getting better buildings to begin with. That can be tricky because provinces usually own building code. So getting better buildings usually requires incentives and various other things, reusing waste heat where possible, renewable heat, and then the bright, shiny objects of renewable electricity. With transportation, it's very similar, reducing trip distance. So that's really, particularly if your municipality is growing at over 1.5% a year, that's the biggest way they can influence energy and emissions in their community, is by getting people closer together, putting stuff where stuff already is. It also helps with municipal budgets and stuff like that, because you don't have to build as much and maintain as much. Shifting to public transit, ride sharing, things like that, active transportation, also good for health, and then electrifying what's left. Ultimately, all this stuff really makes good sense, whether you're trying to combat climate change or whether you're trying to save money for the city or save money for residents and businesses long term, or just get people healthier. So yeah, once you get, so in order to get into good dialogue with some of the folks who aren't interested in climate change, once you get beyond the why into the what, there's a lot of potential for agreement and interesting dialogue. For myself, I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to convince folks who don't believe in, climate change, evolution, or gravity, that these things exist. I'm going to move beyond that and get to what needs to be done. So that's kind of a very short overview. We could talk about this for days, and we will talk about it in another webinar. So thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Dale. We're going to go right to Matthew Chapman because we have little time left. As you know, Matthew is our campaigns coordinator at Climate Reality Canada, and he has experience in education, arts, international business, and many others. So the many faces of Matthew Chapman, which I'm sure you'll learn very soon. So all jokes aside, I'm just gonna go straight to Matthew if he's ready.
Yep. So thank you again, everyone, for being on the call today. It's really an honor to be bringing together some of the people I've been talking with over the last few months in developing this campaign with the team here and bringing you guys all together at the same time. It's really, really exciting. Again, 60 minutes is not nearly enough time to go through everything that I've learned over the last several months from all of these brilliant individuals. And the few minutes that I have right now, actually, I'm gonna abdicate or give away a little bit of my time to questions and answers. We wanted to get at least 10 minutes in at the end for you guys to respond, for you guys to have some of your questions answered. In short, what are we asking you to do? It is, in terms of starting a hub, if you want to start a hub in your community, it is get connected with other people in your community that are interested in making something happen at the municipal level. If it hasn't been done already, hold a public consultation, and you can do so with the funding that the FCM provides and with some of the consultation tools provided by the OCPM, which is why we have Guy and Devin on the call today. And once that consultation is finished, push for the implementation of its recommendations. That's really the core of this campaign. Moving forward, moving the ambition, raising the ambition. I had a call just before this webinar, unexpectedly, from a borough mayor in Montreal, and He is the first mayor of a borough, a sub municipality of a city, to conduct a inventory for his borough. So he did a very small granular inventory. So if you're in a city, for example, Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal now, that has done, that has reached the level 5 of the FCM's milestones, they've gone through the whole process. Now it's time to get even more local, get into your neighborhoods. So I'll leave it at that for now, because I'm going to have another opportunity to speak on the 11th of May. And Eddie will be mentioning that briefly just at the end of the question period, or just before the question period. So there's going to be additional webinars. You've got the first 6 laid out before you on the homepage of climatehub.ca or carrefourclimatique.ca. So thank you very much, and really looking forward to continuing collaboration. I will leave the floor to you now to pose questions, and look forward to continuing discussions and moving forward together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Matthew. I will try to start my video right now, but until that's done, I'm just gonna thank everyone, all the panelists who have shared such great information at this moment. And I'm going to ask for you who are those who are listening right now to share questions, comments, anything that you would like us to add. Please use the chat or the Q&A to share some questions with us, and we will be able to answer to them. I just want to remind that the next webinar is going to be happening on the 11th of May. More information is going to be sent through email. But if you have any questions to any of the panelists, Catherine, Devin, Dale, Guy, they are here to answer these questions. Anything related to consultations, funding, cities. Is there anything you would like to ask at this moment? Okay, I don't see anything yet.
I see a few questions, Eddie, in the chat.
Yes, I just thank you very much, Audrey. Okay, so we have a question right here. Is it worth doing a GAS, so greenhouse gas inventory in small towns, so towns of 15,000 to 20,000 people? So I think is this a question for Devin from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities?
Hi, certainly. Yeah, we definitely have lots of members in our PCP program that are in that population range. As a matter of fact, we've got a lot, especially in Manitoba and New Brunswick, that are down as small as 2,500 people that are doing this. What is generally happening with municipalities that small is they may do this as a cluster or a group of municipalities together. So maybe as a region or just a bunch of adjacent municipalities. Helps make the cost more manageable. They can often work with the same community group or same consultant to help get the work done, and also gives them a better sense of what are some other collaborative projects they might be able to do. If it's a really small municipality, they might also just be able to think about getting a comprehensive audit. I often think if you're just sort of like 500 people or less, could you have somebody like a Dale or other folks come in and you spend a day or two and just really walk them around and find out where might those early projects be they could just start with.
Thank you very much, Devin. We have another one here for Guy. What were the participatory processes that made the Montreal engagement a success? And of course, what were the participatory process that made the Montreal engagement fun? So Guy, why was it fun, and what are the key aspects of the success that happened in the Montreal engagement process?
Well, quite a few things. Usually for the last 15 years as OCPM, we've been having a very formal process for hearing people. So basically we'd have a commission and we would have public hearing and people would come to that. And what changed in the fossil fuel consultation is that we created new processes to gather people. And one of the most efficient thing was, instead of waiting for people to come to us, we went to the people. Or we just told them, well, organize your own consultation in your place of living and send us the results. And people were more interesting. There were no obstacles for them to participate. And what made it fun? Well, basically, people were very involved in the matter, in the theme. Of course, we have mandates about things that are more, let's say, boring. But in this case, people were involved, and where they knew that they needed to say something, and they needed to contribute something to the future of everyone, basically.
Thank you, Guy.
If I could chirp in just really quickly and share, I'd like to share an image from the consultation, because I think it really demonstrates what can happen when you are creative about how you collect opinions from individuals. So I believe it's here. And yeah, I'd like to show you some of these images because they're really beautiful. There was an architecture competition that took place during the, are you seeing the Cano image on the?
Yes.
Okay, so an architecture competition took place as part of the public consultation, and you had a bunch of architecture students come forward, and some of the best architects in the city judging their work. So there are possibilities to be creative, and this particular solution that was brought forward is for autonomous cars replacing all private vehicles and being housed in these. This is actually the second edition of the project. So Guy probably hasn't seen this one, because the project that was launched last year continued for a second edition, and we hope will continue in the future. So just one example of how you can be creative about collecting ideas from your citizens.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I have a very interesting question here. And speaking about Indigenous initiative, are there resources, partnerships, funding to Indigenous aid initiative nationally or internationally? I mean, this is a very important question because it's related to reconciliation with Indigenous people that also involves ecological restoration. Who would like to respond to that question? Maybe Devin?
Sorry about that. I was just writing back to a different question at the same time. Sorry, can you mention the question again?
Of course. Are there resources, partnership, funding to aid Indigenous initiative nationally or internationally?
I guess nationally, Indigenous groups are eligible as partners for some of our programs when the municipality is applying, and when there's essentially a shared services agreement between the municipality and the First Nation. Beyond that, I'm not familiar. I know there are other resources through INAC and some of the other federal departments. And internationally, I'm not aware of anything specific.
I think Dale, thank you very much, Dale. Dale has said that there's some funding from INAC and provincial governments and utilities. Yes.
I might say a few words. So something that was really exciting in the most recently released Canadian federal budget was a set aside of over $700 million in total for Indigenous communities, particularly in Canada's north, to move away from dependence on diesel energy and move towards sustainability. So there is some funding available. The way in which it's getting distributed is not yet defined. And there is also funding through INAC for Indigenous communities to engage in consultation processes related to the Pan-Canadian Climate Framework.
All right. Thank you very much, Catherine, Devin, and Dale, for your answers. I have one last question before we end. Are there resources on the municipal level to encourage and help early stage clean tech developers and incubators? Who would like to answer that question? This is very important. Clean tech developers and incubators.
That of course really varies by municipality. There are some municipalities like City of Vancouver that are offering up their facilities kind of as test beds for new and innovative green local technologies in order to drive the green jobs side of things and that kind of stuff. So municipalities can play a real interesting role in proving out the technology and things like that.
Thank you very much, Dale. Thank you very much for all your questions. I just wanted to remind you that the next webinar is going to be happening on the 11th of May. We also will be sending contact information from all the panelists of today's webinar. And we'll be sending also a list of resources so that we can keep in touch with you and we can continue this engagement with all of you. I don't know if Matthew has any other details that you want to share before we end this amazing webinar.
Nope, that you've done a great job. I mean, the answer is actually yes. Of course, I want to add 1,000 things. So it's a difficult question to answer, but the answer is no. I don't have time to add anything at the moment. And I really look forward to the webinar on May 11th and the subsequent webinars, which are actually designed to coincide and complement the webinars that the Canadian Climate Action Network is holding on every other Thursday. So they'll have a webinar on Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and the following Thursday we have our webinar scheduled. So for those who just can't get enough, they'll be able to do a webinar every week. All right.
So Audrey, do you want to say a few words of goodbye?
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for attending. And of course, if you have questions at any point in time, please don't hesitate to send any of us an email, and we'll be very glad to either answer it or put you in touch with the right person. Thanks so much for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. Have a good night.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.